including the Defence Minister, are expected to lay a wreath on the mortal remains. They will be arriving shortly. The Chief of the Naval Staff, the Chief of the Air Staff, the Army Chief is already there. Several former chiefs of the military are also there. You're witnessing now isn't just by Indian military personnel. It will also be personnel from other countries, from missions and embassies abroad. They have also been invited to pay their final respects to General and Mrs. Bipin Rawat on this terribly, terribly sad day. Families are also seated there, and it will be their sorrow and privilege to pay their final respects to their parents, General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, after this. We're showing you these images of General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika, because this was the kind of people they were. They were full of life. They were always very hospitable. They were a vibrant couple. They were always there for their people. They were always there for the rank and file of the military. They were a father and mother. Mrs. Tarini and Kritika Rawat, the daughters of General and Mrs. Bipin Rawat, were seated right there in front. Today is their ceremony. It is their sorrow, and India is fully with them. I'm going to try and identify as many of the people on our screens for you, so you can get a sense of who the persons are who are laying the wreaths. The senior military officers, former chiefs of the Army, Navy and Air Force, who will be laying the wreaths as we speak. This ceremony will continue till 4:15 p.m, we are told, or shortly thereafter. And at 4:15, There will be ministers who will also be part of the wreath-laying ceremony. At 4:15, the family will offer its final salute. Kritika Rawat, Tarini Rawat, the two daughters of General and Mrs. Rawat, and members of their family, at 4:15 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. will conduct their family rituals. Their salutes, their wreath-laying will be conducted.
एक नई ताकत, एक नया जज्बा दिया आज देश उस महान सपूत को नम आंखों से याद कर रहा है, उसे अंतिम विदाई दे रहा है.
Former chiefs of the military seen here paying their last respects. Bridge now, and to get a perspective, you can also see General V.K. Singh, former Chief of the Army Staff, also a minister in this government, who is there. He is there, of course, in his capacity as both as a former Chief of the Army Staff as well as a minister representing the government at these final rites ceremonies. I want to bring into our coverage and get their wisdom, their perspective on this very, very sad day and this sorrowful, painful ceremony. Lieutenant General B.S. Jaswal, former General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Northern Command of the Indian Army, Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, who was a close friend, childhood friend, and someone who served alongside General Bipin Rawat through his entire career, is also with us. On your screen right now is General Deepak Kapoor, former Chief of the Army Staff, and Mrs. Kapoor paying their last respects. So a steady stream of former chiefs paying their final respects. You can see Air Chief Marshal S.P. Tyagi, General Bikram Singh, and several others. General Jaswal, to bring you in, extremely painful ceremony. It comes right on the back of an enormous outpouring of solidarity, sadness, and also a huge show of strength and a huge show of sympathy and force by Indian citizens with the gun carriage on the 10-kilometer stretch between Kamraj Marg and Brar Square crematorium. Your thoughts, your sentiments, as these images go out to millions of Indians, sir, the farewell ceremony for India's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Jaswal.
The mere fact that he had a towering personality and he was in the hearts of people. So many people from all hues, all religious, across the religious lines, party lines, they have congregated today to give their respect to our CDS General Rawat. Suffice to say that obviously he commanded immense amount of respect in their heart, and he was virtually a people's general. It also makes me feel proud to be a soldier, and I'm proud Indian today because I find everyone giving befitting respect
so true, sir,
to departed soul of General Rawat. Anyone who dons the uniform, I think he earns his respect right from that day, the day he signs. The last words being, even to the peril of my life. Because we virtually mortgage our life to the nation, sign our own death warrant. And that's why a uniformed person is always respected. And when he dies in line of duty, I think that sacrifice obviously touches the heart of everyone. General Rawat and the entire entourage. Brigadier Lidder was a very dear friend of family to me.
Yes.
And the rest of the people, they, all of them, as a matter of fact, I think they have sacrificed their lives in the line of duty, including Mrs. Rawat. So I feel that this kind of sentiments pouring out, this is a very good sign that the nation respects its armed forces, and this will definitely boost the morale of the army. We have lost a brave heart. He cannot be made up. We will have replacements, but his memory will always remain, and that will keep guiding us, whatever he had enshrined for himself and the Indian Armed Forces. My heart goes out to the families of all those who've sacrificed their life in this crash, and may God give them the strength to bear this irreparable loss. And of course, we pray to God from day one. I've been praying, actually virtually praying, that may the soul of these brave hearts find eternal peace in their heavenly abode. We are proud of them, and along with the last post, I give my last salute to General Rawats.
So well said, General Jaswal, and I respect every word that you've just shared with us, because what we've seen today is the soul of India that has come out. Indians are never shy of wearing their hearts on their sleeves, but in this time of people casting aspersions on emotion and the display of heart, I can tell you that what India has witnessed today in this tribute, in this farewell ceremony for General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat is nothing short of citizenship letting its soul show. Because that is precisely what has happened. As General Jaswal said, from Brigadier Lidder to General Rawat to Lieutenant General Harjinder to Wing Commander Chauhan, and mind you, far away from where this ceremony is taking place, at the home of pilot Wing Commander Prithvi Singh Chauhan, Chief Minister of UP Yogi Adityanath has already reached over there to offer his solidarity and be with the family there. So each and every one of these families is being reached out to, and we will cover all of their stories, I promise you, here on India Today. At this point of time, the wreath-laying ceremony is continuing to take place. General Jaswal, bringing you back in, sir, a sense of loss, being felt in the military is understandable. How do you account for the sense of loss that's being felt by the public at large? Yes, this was a large, a very crucial and important media story for all of us to cover. But how does a soldier and a general like you, rationalize and make sense of the enormous public adulation? It seems like everyone has felt a personal sense of loss today, sir.
Absolutely. Like I said, he was embedded in the hearts of people, and he was not embedded just for the sake of it. He earned that particular slot in the heart of everyone by virtue of his actions, by virtue of his vision, what he had given, and the pace he undertook to modernize the Indian Army, as also his personal relations with the juniors, the civilians, the villagers, all alike. He was extremely approachable. I'd given an incident earlier, which I don't feel like repeating now. But he gave 45 minutes breaking all the protocols to a lieutenant colonel in his office. Just because I requested him. He says, please send him to me. I said, sorry, that will be breaking of protocol. He says, no, you please send him. So he was such an approachable man. If he was that kind of a person that he could strike a chord with anyone and everyone, obviously. Yeah. Respect for him will get embedded in the hearts of people. A well-meaning person, honest soldier to the hilt. What else does a soldier or a civilian look for? A person who's a soldier to the hilt, honest to the purpose, and approachable. That's the reason this conglomeration of people which have congregated over there, I think this is all, it's not sponsored. It is a personal reaction to the loss, personal reaction to honor the person who led the Indian Armed Forces. He did earn a tremendous amount of respect. He and Mrs. Rawat also. She was a wonderful lady, and she earned the respect of everyone.
Yes.
General Rawat himself was such a affable person. You could just approach him. And in the lighter moments, he was stern at times. In the lighter moments, he would also bring in the cheerful buoyancy. He would joke around. And he became a kancha with the Gurkha troops when he was there with them, rubbing shoulders. He was typical kancha, what we call in Gurkhali. So that was his spectrum of interaction with the people. And no wonder people respect him and did respect him a lot. So it's a big loss. It's a big loss, but reality cannot be challenged. There is a stretch point of life, destiny, and the day one has to go, no one can stop it. It's unfortunate. That's what reality is. But
Yes.
yes, the pain is felt. The pain is felt especially by the family and the organization. That's where we stand today.
Truly is, truly is. And, I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because we never ever for a moment want to take our focus away from the families. In the morning, it was the family of Brigadier Lidder. Today, it's the family of General Rawat. In a few hours later and tomorrow, it will be the family of Wing Commander Prithvi Singh Chauhan. Here you have Rajavardhan Singh Rathore, former army man himself, Member of Parliament, paying his tribute. He knew General Bipin Rawat well. He knew Brigadier Lidder well. He has tweeted heartfelt condolences, and today he pays tribute and wishes his own farewell to the departed General and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. More dignitaries from the government coming in now. I'd also like to bring in Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, a very well-known defense veteran, a person who spent his childhood, his entire army life alongside General Bipin Rawat, and someone who he counts as a friend, someone who he knew very well. As the Chief of the Naval Staff takes his salute as well, I'd like to bring in Lieutenant General Chauhan. General, we spoke yesterday as well, and we very much appreciated the reminiscences that you shared with us. Your thoughts today,
Thank you.
sir. I can imagine all the conversations that must be happening, in the friends circles about General Bipin and Mrs. Madhulika. Share with us some of your thoughts today as this final journey comes to an end, sir.
There's of course a great sense of loss. Lost because I've lost a childhood friend. I've lost a colleague, a valued colleague. I've lost a mentor. And as the General was saying before me, a fellow Kancha or a fellow elder brother. General Bipin and me, as you were aware, were from the same regiment. Our parents were from the same regiment, and we grew up as children in the same regiment. We were born in the regimental center in Dehradun, and we were children together. And my childhood memories are of General Bipin from that age. I have been lucky to have been associated with him because Bipin was a year senior to me. And even in the NDA, he took me under his wing and guided me through difficult times, especially during our junior terms. He was always there, and he would also always say, Kancha, come, now you should do this, or let's do this together. And I've been through challenging times with him. He's been through challenging times, but we've always worked it out. We've done most of our courses together.
Yes.
Of course, he was outstanding in every course. He was way ahead of everybody else. And in the staff college course, he was absolutely the best in whether it be in his narratives, whether it be in his retention of the orders, or whether in his interpretation of the tasks that were ahead of him. He was absolutely clear. And the good thing about General Bipin, and even that I noticed that as a major, that he was not afraid to ask questions. He was not afraid to question the white surface, question the narrative, question why a particular thing was happening. And, I would often question him about it. I would say, elder brother, Dai, why do you keep asking these questions? And he would say, because unless I ask these questions, I'm not going to learn. And we're going to repeat the same mistake that people have made in the past.
Yes.
So General Bipin was actually determined, from a very young age to not make the same mistakes that maybe our army had made earlier. And I'm so glad that both of us, our careers went together. At every stage, he was a year ahead. So I would always laugh and say, well, next year I'll catch you up. And I remember when I was retiring on March 27th, on March 31st, 2018, he had just become the chief. And he told me, he says, Kanta, we would have retired together, but I've got 3 more years. So I said, yes, and I'm certain you'll do a great job. So it's a tragic situation. Bipin still had another 20-odd months, another 1.5 years to go. He had a lot of things to complete. Later, when there are so many lasting memories, so many lasting reminiscences about General Bipin. But what I loved about the fact was his simplicity and his ability to, take on. He could take on any task. We were traveling for the regimental get-together from Delhi. We were both posted in Delhi at that time. And we were going to Lucknow. He said, Kanta, you're going to come with me. And of course, Madhu and my wife, Daphne, will also to travel with us. He bought tickets in the overnight train, and we shared the top berth together, and the ladies were on the ground berth. So it didn't matter to him whether we were in the first class bogie or the second class bogie. He would just take off his backpack, which he always wore when he was traveling, and sleep immediately. I loved that about him, that he could rest his head and sleep, and he would wake up absolutely fresh and ready to get ahead with life. The other thing I loved about him was the way he always carried everything that he wanted on his back.
Yeah.
There was no question of anyone else carrying anything for him. He would put it on his back and walk. And he had this brisk walk. I wonder if you've noticed on television, of him walking. He would put his head down a little bit and walk as he was going to butt ahead with somebody else. And he loved walking. He loved walking and talking. And we could discuss anything, throughout the courses that we did together or our lifetime together. He would always be advising, saying this is what we have to do and this is how we have to go ahead and this is what the Indian Army needs. So General Bipin was a man in a hurry. He was well chosen by the government. He had his detractors. He was in a hurry because he had no option but to be in a hurry. Being chosen as the Chief of Defence Staff meant that General Bipin had a lot of tasks ahead, very difficult tasks ahead. But the good thing was that he had the heart for doing these tasks. He could take decisions, he could take them quickly, he could stick by his decisions. He may have been a little impulsive at times, but he could be moderated. If I didn't agree with him, I would always go and say, Dai, this is something maybe you can look at. And he would say, okay, sit down, let's have a cup of tea. And he would re-listen to whatever I had to say. And he'd say, okay, I agree with you. Let's do this now. So the great
General
thing,
Chauhan, just for a moment, sorry for interrupting. Defense Minister paying his last rites. Just listen in and then come back to you. I need the charger of this laptop.
ड्रामेबाजी है ना भाई,
वही है ना
अच्छा
उनके
आएगा तो ऑफिस में ठीक है, बात कर लेगा। लो भाई साहब इधर हो जाओ थोड़ा, अभी प्राइवेट पार्ट पर रखना पड़ने के बाद हम देख रहे हैं अब उनके बाकी सभी को किया जा रहा है। यहाँ पर रखा गया
सत्रह
Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, has also arrived. Several other political leaders are also here. Arvind Kejriwal paying his last respects. Defence Minister, along with the Minister of State for Defence, Mr. Bhatt. This is the Chief of the Army Staff, General Manoj Mukund Naravane, there you saw in those pictures. And now the family. There's the family of General Rawat. His two daughters, you can see. That's Kritika and Tarani. The daughters of General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika are now stepping up to pay their final respects to their parents. They lost both their parents at the same moment in the same accident. Please think of how they feel. That is Kritika's husband. He's the tall gentleman standing with her. They have a young son. General and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat had become grandparents just a couple of years ago. This is the family that they leave behind. That the family gets to pay its final farewell. They obviously get the privilege and the honor and the sorrow and the pain of conducting the final rituals, including the lighting of the funeral pyre. Kritika and Tarani are the two daughters of General and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. They will be accorded, of course, the entire privilege of the final rites and the final farewell to their parents. The family will be conducting its own personal, private, religious ritual now. That's what you're watching. General Rawat was from Uttarakhand, therefore there are many political leaders, the Chief Minister, others from Uttarakhand who are also present here. This is the final religious rituals by the Rawat family for the departed souls of their parents. This is General Rawat's elder daughter, Kritika Rawat. Younger daughter in glasses is Tarani Rawat, who lived with them in Delhi. Both these young women have lost both their parents in the same accident. Our prayers and our thoughts are with them as they, with difficulty but with poise, conduct the last final rites, the final farewell to their parents. They're seated right next to the caskets of their parents. You can only imagine how difficult this moment And this ritual must be for them. An entire country is praying with Kritika and Tarini at this time.
लगता ब्लॉक नहीं करते फर्स्ट टाइम देंगे और इसमें मार बड़ी कर रहे हैं पीछे
The mortal remains of General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat now being taken. Their two daughters right behind them. That's Tarini and Kritika, left and right. To the final site where the funeral pyre will be lit in just minutes from now. The final salute and then the funeral pyre, which the family will have the sorrow and the privilege of lighting. The Brar Square crematorium has two different sections, one place for the wreath laying and one place for where, along with firewood, the funeral pyres are lit, and that is where the two caskets are headed to now. Let's listen in.
Excuse madam.
Gorkha rifles, as you can see, with their kukris, their ceremonial daggers. That's how you can very well make them out. Gorkha rifles, Gorkha soldiers, they're part of the ceremonials for this final rites. Remember that General Bipin Rawat was from the Gorkha Rifles Regiment. So many Gorkhali rituals as part of the final rites to the departed general. Three-star officers of the three services now taking the tricolour that draped the casket of General Bipin Rawat as well as Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, so that the caskets can now move to the final site for the funeral pyre.
जनरल बिपिन रावत के अंतिम संस्कार का आखिरी पड़ाव। जनरल बिपिन रावत के अंतिम संस्कार का आखिरी पड़ाव, जहां उनके पार्थिव शरीर को अग्नि को समर्पित किया जाना है।
The family of General and Mrs. Rawat will light the funeral pyre. This is the place where the eternal flame will be lit, and the final act, the final farewell will be accorded to General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, two Gorkha soldiers handling the mortal remains, the caskets, and bringing them to their final resting place now, from where the flames will be lit. There are private family rituals which have been conducted, and they will be conducted here when the flame is lit as well. And the reason, viewer, that I don't want to talk much over these images is because the silence at the ceremony is itself the message. So I want you to be able to hear the silence during this final act.
कहाँ लगाओ बताओ, तुम्हारे को जगह बताओ कहाँ लगाना है। तो VIP यहाँ लगवा दो। हाँ वही तो है। दोनों आ जाएगा ना। हाँ मुझे बता दिया इधर कर दिया करो किसी को ये लगाओ ना, इसी के साथ आगे लगा दो साइड में दोनों कारण साफ
रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह, उत्तराखंड के मुख्यमंत्री
थोड़ा सा बाकी सारे मूवी आ गए सर। पीछे से मंत्री जी देख रहे हैं।
भारत
भारत के मित्र देशों के वरिष्ठ सैन्य
भारत माता की भारत के वीर सपूतों की
In just minutes from now, the flame will be lit. The final ritual is about to be complete. 4:45 p.m. is the time that was designated for the lighting of the funeral pyre. The 17-gun salute will also take place, and then we will see the last post performed by the Tri-Services band that is assembled there. There is a crowd all around that, as you can imagine, to pay their final respects and their final goodbye. Many of the people you see on your screen right now are those who worked at the Department of Military Affairs, who worked with General Bipin Rawat, family, friends, persons from the military who were connected to General Bipin Rawat when he was Chief of the Army Staff, before he took over as Chief of Defence Staff, the country's first. They're all there today, and they're all near the caskets right before these final rituals are conducted. And then the flame, the eternal flame, is lit for their final journey. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was there to lay a wreath. He was there in the morning for Brigadier Lidder as well. You can see the Uttarakhand Chief Minister, the Minister of State for Defence.
अमर रहेगी ए वीर तुम्हारी अमर कहानी, युग युग तक गूंजेगी तुम्हारी गाथा ए वीर बलिदानी। कर दिया तन मन न्यौछावर अपना, करने को पूरा सबका सपना, दे रहा पूरा भारत तुमको सलामी। अमर रहेगी ए वीर तुम्हारी अमर कहानी। देश के प्रथम चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ जनरल बिपिन रावत, जिनका अंतिम संस्कार नई दिल्ली के बरार स्क्वायर में किया जा रहा है। जब जब त्याग और बलिदान का जिक्र होगा, जब जब देश के प्रति जीने का जिक्र होगा, जब जब देशभक्ति की बात होगी, तब तब जनरल बिपिन रावत को भी ज़रूर याद किया जाएगा, जिनके लिए देश और देशभक्ति सर्वोपरि रही। देश सुरक्षा के लिए उन्होंने अपना सब कुछ दांव पर लगा दिया, पूरा जीवन देश के लिए जिया। देशभक्ति का सबक अपने पिता से सीखते हुए जब वो सेना में शामिल हुए, तब से लेकर अब तक उन्होंने अपना सारा जीवन सिर्फ देश के लिए जिया। जब जब जो जिम्मेदारी उन्हें दी गई, उसका निर्वहन उन्होंने अपनी पूरी क्षमता के साथ किया, और यही कारण है कि हर मिशन में वो सफल रहे। अपने रणनीतिक कौशल, अपने जज्बे से उन्होंने देश की सुरक्षा को हर मायने में सुनिश्चित किया। चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ बनने के बाद भी जो जिम्मेदारी उन्हें दी गई, पिछले 2 सालों में उन्होंने उसका बखूबी निर्वहन किया। चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ के तौर पर जो लक्ष्य हासिल करना है वो छोटा नहीं है, लेकिन उसे हासिल करने के लिए उन्होंने हर स्तर पर प्रयास किए। एक मजबूत आधार दिया चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ के पद को भी और चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ के आगे आने वाले कार्यों को भी।
अमुक नाम भूत नाम देता अपने पूछे बेटे पापा का मम्मी का नाम लेके इससे ब्रह्मता रुद्रसा पत्र भाषा पंचमाली तपोपदिशा आगे मुझे बेटा नाम के पास में हाई ओम का परमेश्वर महासंधि के बाद खड़े आत्मा सीमा समाज शुभम नाम अपना नाम अमुक नाम अपने पूछे मम्मी पापा का नाम बोलते का उच्चारण करना शिशु नाम क्या दूसरे भाषा अंदर जाऊंगा केवल अमुक नाम भूत नाम प्रेता एवं तुझिया अपने पूज्य बेटे पापा मम्मी का नाम केशव अमृता रोजसा देवती पंचमाली तपो प्रतिष्ठा संजोग के पास आगे है भाई पूजा का हरिओम महाप्रो विवाहसंगोरी समरे मुनि काक्षे संके यागा कुना मुनि विवासा जगदा का कोशिमाते समझो एक गणपति आजा जातो नमन कुला संसारना उपदेश मनमा मुक्तिदा जगदा गणपति जाता प्रोग्राम गाय नम दिवा विष्णु नमः मुक्तिदा भजन ते पितृ देवन मा पंचतन दे देना ओम अस्वावणं त्रिपुरं नमः इनमें से रघुनाथं पंचतिवं देगा पुरुषवंदं प्रतिवे नमः ये लोग थोड़ा थोड़ा ओम मधुवादातं प्रतियादातं प्रतियामधुं गंगासं प्रतिवे नमः एक नीचे पांडव को खंबासन चलो फिरमा ये लोग छाती करो छाती करो आदि करो ओम अश्वापति विशेष आप फिरमा कोई परिवार का भी कोई दादा कोई छाती का अपना भाई उधर वो इधर जैसे भी इधर आ जाएगा ये ना बालक बेटा अपने हाथ से फैल दीजिए माथे से देखिए पैरों पे बांध दो सुगंधम पाप हम शिवम को तीर महा आप भी इधर से डाल एक और राहुल सामग्री ला दे अंदर सारा डालो इस तरह से सब डालो पीछे सामग्री देना मुट्ठी भरो माथे से लेके और पैरों तक सरों में फैलाओ। ये लोग सभी लोग थोड़ी थोड़ी सामग्री ले लीजिए और डालो ओम वाचवे स्वाहा, ओम नमः स्वाहा, ओम द्रव्येश्वराय स्वाहा, ओम प्रजासाय स्वाहा, ओम गव्याय स्वाहा, ओम अनंतकालाभ्याय स्वाहा, ओम मृत्युकालाभ्याय स्वाहा, ओम ब्रह्मकोशाभ्याय स्वाहा। बेटा बना से रखो, आप ही एक लकड़ी बना से रखो बेटा। रखो बेटा रखो, अपने हाथ में साथी रखो। ओम सविता संपूर्ण ओम की आप से किया हाथ जोड़ो अनादि देवा संकट से ओम पद से ओम नमः। रखो बेटा दवा दवा बढ़िया बस आप बाहर निकले मुझे थोड़ा पीछे करवा साथ में चल जरा थोड़ा साइड से लकड़ी उठवानी है। हां बात है लकड़ी दे सभी लोग सामने थोड़ा नीचे उतरते जाइएगा, थोड़ा हटते जाइए, थोड़ा नीचे थोड़ा जिन्होंने डाल दिया रिक्वेस्ट वो बाहर हो जाए, जिन्होंने डाल दिया वो प्लीज बाहर हो जाए। प्लीज बाहर हो
The funeral pyre has been lit, the eternal flame. Both General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat in the same pyre. It's perhaps unprecedented and truly a reflection of what a sad, painful moment this is for the family, for the military, for the country. Not a dry eye there at the Brar Square crematorium as India's first Chief of Defence Staff is consigned to the flames with his wife of many years, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, right there next to him. The mood reflected in the silence there on the ground. The eternal flames now leaping and sending General Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika on their final eternal journey.
जनरल बिपिन रावत और उनकी पत्नी मधुलिका रावत का पार्थिव शरीर जो अग्नि को समर्पित कर दिया गया है। अंतिम संस्कार की पूरी विधि उनकी दोनों बेटियों ने पूरी की, जिन्होंने अपने माता और अपने पिता को मुखाग्नि दी। जनरल बिपिन रावत को उनके अंतिम संस्कार के समय 17 तोपों की सलामी दी गई। पूर्ण सैन्य सम्मान के साथ जनरल बिपिन रावत का अंतिम संस्कार किया गया। रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह जो इस अवसर पर स्वयं यहां मौजूद रहे हैं, उनकी दोनों बेटियों को ढाढ़स बंधाते हुए उनके प्रति कृतज्ञता अर्पित करते हुए रक्षा मंत्री राजनाथ सिंह। तीनों सेनाओं के सैन्य प्रमुख भी यहाँ उपस्थित हैं। उससे पहले भी हमने देखा किस तरह उनकी अंतिम यात्रा में समाज का हर वर्ग शिरकत कर रहा था। क्या बच्चे, क्या बड़े, क्या बूढ़े।
Images that you're witnessing,
अंतिम यात्रा में
the images that you're witnessing
और ब्रार स्क्वायर पर
bring to an end
उनके चिता
the final rites and farewell ceremony for General Bipin Rawat
सैनिक सम्मान के साथ पूरे
and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. The emotions on the ground perhaps cannot be described. There are hundreds of military personnel who've assembled there.
अंतिम संस्कार किया गया है। जनरल बिपिन रावत, जिनका तमिलनाडु के कुन्नूर में एक हेलीकॉप्टर हादसे में निधन हो गया। जनरल रावत और उनकी पत्नी के अलावा 11 अन्य सैन्य अधिकारी जिन्होंने इस हादसे में अपनी जान गंवाई, ब्रिगेडियर लीडर का भी आज सवेरे ही अंतिम संस्कार किया गया है। उसके बाद सुलूर से जनरल रावत और उनके साथ 12 अन्य लोगों के पार्थिव शव जो कल पालम एयरपोर्ट लाए गए। कल रात प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने भी पालम एयरपोर्ट जाकर जनरल बिपिन रावत, उनकी पत्नी और अन्य सैन्य अधिकारियों और दिवंगत सैन्य अधिकारियों को अपने श्रद्धा सुमन अर्पित किए। आज सुबह से ही जनरल बिपिन रावत के निवास स्थान पर उनका पार्थिव शरीर रखा गया, जहां हर आमो खास ने आकर अपनी श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित की, अपने श्रद्धा सुमन अर्पित किए और देश के इस शूरवीर वीर सपूत को नमन किया।
In these images that the dignitaries, including Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, have begun to depart from the last rites ceremony. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh was there for every ceremony since the mortal remains arrived in the national capital last evening. And you're looking at images now of the Defence Minister who is about to leave from the crematorium after having stayed and paid his respects to India's first Chief of Defence Staff and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. They've been consigned to the flames. Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane there, the National Security Advisor, BJP MP Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore, who is also an army veteran, is also there. Well, this brings to a close the last rite ceremonies for India's first Chief of Defence Staff. I want to bring in Aishwarya Paliwal. Aishwarya, the Defence Minister, has just left. The eternal flames are burning. General Rawat and his wife, Mrs. Madhulika, are on their final journey. It's just still so much disbelief, Aishwarya, at this point of time as we watch these images of the burning funeral pyre, the family of General and Mrs. Rawat, Kritika and Tarani, the daughters there, the gun salute. These images, a surreal reminder that this terrible tragedy that everyone just hoped was a nightmare or a bad dream is all too real, and it's coming to an end now, Aishwarya.
Yes, Shiv, it all is coming to an end. We have seen since morning how dignitaries were at the Brar Square. We are now seeing, just a couple of minutes back, Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister, left. Arvind Kejriwal is now leaving in one of these cars. Rajyavardhan Rathore too is now leaving. So all the dignitaries are now leaving the cremation ground, the crematorium. Arvind Kejriwal just left. We are seeing Rajyavardhan Rathore too. And let me tell you, Shiv, Rajyavardhan Rathore in fact was amongst the first dignitaries who reached the spot. He was here around 8:30 in the morning before the cremation of Brigadier Lidder actually began. And now he is amongst the last people to leave. All these cars that you are saying, we are standing right outside all
the army personnel too. Making their way, all of them now leaving. You very rightly pointed, family, when the two daughters go back home, the vacuum that they will feel, we cannot even imagine what they must be feeling like. Once everyone moves away, the two daughters are the ones, the vacuum of what has happened. More dignitaries now on their way, just leaving. We are seeing the former chiefs also now making their way, all of them leaving the crematorium after paying their tribute, after paying their respect to the first CDS, General Bipin Rawat and his wife. These are the images we are bringing to you live from right outside Brar Square crematorium, which is inside the Delhi cantonment. We are seeing the generals now leaving. army officials leaving. All of them now going back after being there. News of Rajyavardhan Rathore too. The CM of Uttarakhand just leaving now. Rajyavardhan Rathore still waiting there, still waiting. He was in fact...
Just taking over for a moment to talk our viewers over those visuals. That was the new Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral R. Hari Kumar, along with the outgoing Navy Chief, Admiral Karambir Singh, who were also there to pay their respects. Sense of disbelief still, looking at these surreal, absolutely surreal images of the eternal flame. How many times General Bipin Rawat has saluted the eternal flame of India's heroes, those who've been lost in conflict, those who've been killed in action, in terror and combat. He has saluted the Amar Jawan Jyoti so many times. And today General Bipin Rawat is consigned to that very same flame, the eternal flame of every soldier, along with his wife, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat, who was an integral part of military life right through the life of General Bipin Rawat. A flame that is an integral part of the ceremonies of all military functions, now sending